A long time ago, in a land far, far away that was ruled by the Sultan, there was a tailor. And one day a little hunchback came and sat down in front of the tailor's shop, and he started singing and playing his tambourine. Well, the tailor really enjoyed it. He was so entertained, he went up to the little hunchback and he said, "Please come to my house for dinner." So they went to the tailor's house, and when they got there, the tailor's wife had prepared a great feast, lots of delicious food. And they sat down and they started enjoying the food. But all of a sudden, the little hunchback swallowed a fish bone. And no matter what the tailor and his wife did, the little man died. And the tailor and his wife, they felt really sorry for killing this poor man. And they started to worry about going to prison. What would happen to them if they got caught? So they started to think, who could they frame for the murder of this little man? How could they get out of it? And they thought of the nearby Jewish doctor. So they picked up the hunchback and they wrapped him up and they carried him over to the doctor's house. And it was very dark out, and when they knocked on the door, a servant came down the stairs and opened the door, and the house was completely dark. Oh, it was very dark. And they told the servant, "Oh, we brought you this patient for the doctor, and he needs to be cured. And so the doctor knows that he's not wasting his time. Here's some gold." And the servant took the gold and ran up the stairs and talked with the doctor. And when the servant went up the stairs, the tailor and his wife picked up the hunchback's body and carried him up the stairs and left him at the top of the stairs. And the doctor was a new doctor. He was very young, and he didn't have a lot of patience. So he was very excited, and he didn't wait for a light. He just rushed out, and at the top of the stairs, he stubbed his toe on something, some kind of bulky package. And so he was very angry, and he kicked the package down the stairs. And when his servant finally brought out the light, he saw that he had killed his patient, the patient that came to him. And he started to get really worried. What had he done? And so he had to think, oh, what was he going to do? He didn't want to go to jail. And so he thought of a nearby Muslim man who owned the storeroom for the Sultan. And lots of the Sultan's different goods and supplies and treasures were sometimes stored in this big storeroom. And so the doctor and his wife carried the little hunchback's body, and they went to the chimney of this storeroom owner, and using some ropes they lowered the body down through the chimney so that the body was kind of just leaning against the wall down at the bottom of the chimney. And they left, and a little bit later on, the owner of the storeroom came home. He had been at a big wedding feast, and it was getting pretty late. He had a lamp with him, and when he got in the dim light of the lamp, he saw someone leaning against the wall. And he thought, oh, it's a burglar here to steal things from my place. And so he picked up a stick, and he went up to the burglar, and he just started wailing on this burglar. And after a time, he started to notice the burglar wasn't moving. And he realized he'd killed him. He'd killed this man. And so he started worrying. He could imagine a rope being tightened around his neck. So he saw that it was starting to become dawn, and he knew he had to take care of this body soon, or else he'd get into trouble. So he picked up the body and he went out of the house, and at the street he just propped the body against a wall, and then he left. Well, there was a rich Christian merchant who was just coming home, and he had been out all night partying and drinking and feasting, and he was completely wasted. He was just kind of stumbling along, and he realized it was almost dawn. And a lot of the people would be going to their morning prayers. And if they saw him totally trashed just walking around the city, he could get arrested and sent to jail as a drunk. So he started rushing to get home, and as he was rushing, he bumped into the hunchback's body and it started to fall on him. And he thought, oh, it's a mugger. So he shouted, help, help, I'm being robbed. And using his bare fists, he knocked the body off of him and he just started pounding on this mugger. And a policeman heard the commotion and he rushed over and he saw this Christian man beating up on this poor little Muslim man. Oh, and he didn't like that none too much, so he pulled the rich merchant off, and as he was reaching down to give the hunchback a hand up, he saw the hunchback was dead. Oh, so he took the rich merchant to jail. And during the trial, they found out that this hunchback was actually the Sultan's favorite jester. So this just got more and more serious, and the rich merchant was found guilty of murder. And so all around the city, criers went out and shouted about the crime, and they built a huge gallows so that they could hang the merchant. And just as they were getting ready to tie him up, the store owner came up and he said, stop, wait, he's innocent, it was me. He told the whole story, and they decided to put him in the place of the rich merchant. So the rich merchant went down and up came the store owner. And they fastened the rope around his throat, and then suddenly the doctor showed up. And the doctor said, stop, he's innocent, I'm the one who did it. And he told his whole story, and so they brought him up to the gallows. And just as they were starting to lift his feet off the ground, the tailor came up, and he said, wait, oh, it wasn't him, it was me. And he told the whole story about how he had been the murderer. And they were astounded by this strange tale. These four men who all committed the same murder. And word got back to the Sultan. And he thought, wow, what a curious tale. I want to hear it with my own two ears. And so a messenger went out, and the tailor was already swinging in the air, but they cut him down, and all four of the murderers put the hunchback on their shoulders, and they marched into the Sultan's palace. And once they were there, they all told their stories for the Sultan. And everyone around in the courtroom was very intrigued by this story. But there was an old barber who was there, and he said, let me examine the body. And so the Sultan agreed, and the old barber went down and he carefully looked at the body, and he started laughing and laughing. Oh, and they wondered what was so funny. And the old barber said, why, this man's no more dead than I am. And he took out some medicine, he rubbed it on the hunchback's throat, then he opened the hunchback's mouth, and using some pliers, he plucked out the fishbone. And just like that, the hunchback sneezed, achoo! And he sat up, and he was as good as new. Well, everyone was so astonished by this that the Sultan had his scribes write down the whole story, everything that happened, and put it away for safekeeping. And that's how we can hear about the story.